With Borderlands 4 coming out very soon, hype is like at an all-time high. It's really exciting, everyone's making content, everyone's making videos, there's people hoping how the character's gonna play, people waiting to see the backstory of all the characters. We're getting a lot of info from Randy and Gearbox, but there really does seem to be a big concern that people have that Gearbox isn't really talking about, Randy isn't really talking about, and a lot of content creators aren't really asking about it. And that's what I want to talk about today. Now, before I get into that, of course, like and subscribe. Really appreciate all that shit. It really helps out the channel. And in this video, I also want to go over a bunch of things that I'm excited about and that I'm looking forward to, and I think most people are looking forward to, because I don't want to make a video that's only negative. I like having a well-balanced type of video, and that's the kind of content I want to make. So let's get right to it. First off is loot. I really like what they've said about how they've changed the loot system, that they said legendaries are going to feel legendary, and that there's just not going to be as much easy loot as there was in Borderlands 3. Because in my opinion, that was my biggest gripe with Borderlands 3. The whole gameplay loop was vastly inferior to Borderlands 2 to me, and it just gave me no drive to keep playing, because it's just really unsatisfying if you're getting legendaries every second or every few minutes. It's just really bad to me, even more so than the story, which is why I never really understood why people would say that Borderlands 3 is superior to 2 in terms of gameplay. Yeah, maybe gunplay is debatable, and even I don't really think that, but definitely in terms of the overall gameplay experience, it was just way less satisfying to me. But so far, I like what they've said, I like what they're doing, and if they can really pull it off and strike a really good balance, I think it's going to be great for everyone. Next off is the Vault Hunters themselves. Now, this is going to be kind of hit or miss for a lot of people, but for me, I think it's clearly obvious that it's basically split down the middle of who people are excited about and who they aren't really excited about. And we all know who I'm talking about. Vex and Amon look incredibly cool. I think everyone is excited to play them. They stick out the most visibly and visually, and they just seem very unique. Rafa and Harlow, on the other hand, well, Rafa looks really cool with his helmet on, but without it, he just looks like some average fucking Joe. I think people are more excited to play him for gameplay reasons than the actual character itself, but I do think he has quite a bit of personality that I really do appreciate. He seems really, funny, he seems kind of crippy a bit, sometimes a bit too much, but I think it's okay. At least he has that to help balance out his more boring appearance. Harlow, on the other hand, I didn't really hear anyone saying they're excited to play Harlow, or excited to even hear anything about Harlow until she was the last character to be revealed, and people just, wanted to see the last character. My theory for why they're saving her for last is probably not the same as what other people are thinking. I don't think this is a case of saving the best for last. I think this is more of a case of we're gonna save her for last because we either want to work on the trailer or because we know people aren't super excited to see her as much as they are the other characters. So we're gonna save her for last so that we can unveil some other shit right next to her that helps get people excited at the same time. They probably don't want to release too much shit so far away from the game's release, which is why they're probably saving it for that. That's just my theory, I could be wrong. And I really do hope that mechanically she's really cool and has a bunch of cool shit that she can do. The idea of a gravatar and someone using science is really cool, especially considering we don't really get that much stuff like that in previous Borderlands games. I know we had Gage, but that's really all I can think of right now. But the truth is that visually she doesn't really look that exciting. She looks really boring actually. And I think it's not a coincidence that two of the characters that stick out the most visually are the two that most people are excited to play as. I hope she's cool, I hope she's funny, but to be honest, the only thing I've really heard about her as a character so far is that she's related to the Trance. That's all I ever really hear people talking about, and if that's the only real notable thing about a character, that's really not a good sign. All in all, I hope all of them are cool, I hope they all play cool, I hope they have a bunch of cool shit they can do, and I'm definitely going to try them all out at least a little bit, but for me, the two I'm most excited about are definitely Vex and Amon. They're probably going to be my first two characters, either or, we'll see which one I start with, and I feel like for most people, they're going to say basically the same thing. Now let's talk about gameplay changes. I really love what they're doing with the movement system, the dash, the double jump, the grappling hook, the glider pack or the jet pack, whatever you want to call it, the new vehicles, the new traversal. Borderlands is basically turning into Destiny, which now that you think about it is basically the natural progression that everyone's kind of expected. And even the way the world is structured has changed. Now it's a total open world where you can basically go anywhere you want. Even the story is supposedly non-linear. Apparently there's dynamic weather, there's dynamic events, there's world bosses, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. And I really hope they can pull it off. I hope it just doesn't feel like another Far Cry kind of thing. I really hope it feels really rewarding to explore and there's lots of stuff you can do. Apparently they've tripled down on the amount of side quests and side missions you can do. I hope there's lots of really in-depth ones. I hope there's lots of little tiny ones that you can do just to get a little quick, cash or a quick piece of gear. I hope that there's lots of little mini games and ways to pass the time and make the world feel like lived in and really immersive. I really just hope it feels like a world worth exploring and worth being open. And I really like what they're doing with Ordnance. It seems cool. It seems like it adds a lot of things you can use to freshen up and spice up gameplay. You've got like grenades, you got throwing knives, you got like rocket launchers and miniguns, and it just looks like a really cool way to add some like cool shit you can do. I'm not too sure about the whole system of different manufacturer gun parts appearing on different weapons. I hope it's cool, I hope it works out, but it could also end up being another anointment system and just becoming an obscene amount of RNG that just ends up detracting from the experience rather than adding to it. We'll see how it turns out. I hope it ends up just being really cool, and hey, if it just allows for more cool shit to be there and allows you to do more crazy shit, then that's all great with me, and that just seems cool. Apparently there's a whole bunch of new types of content that you can do. There's mini dungeons, there's outposts, there's all kinds of shit. And now you can respawn bosses without having to save crit. All in all, I'm really digging what they're doing, and I just really hope they can pull it all off and make for a really satisfying gameplay experience. Now, one thing I also want to talk about very quickly is something that I don't think the Borderlands franchise gets enough credit for, and which is why I want to talk about it now. One thing you can always say that Borderlands has done very well is that they still make complete video games. Actual full package video games. No microtransactions in some random fucking store, no FOMO battle pass bullshit, no manipulative matchmaking. They just proper complete packages that for the most part I think most people get their money's worth out of. Now I think it's kind of a shame that has become something to celebrate so proudly because it's such a rarity nowadays, and people have been burned so much by the AAA gaming landscape that it really is something that you need to shout out when you see it and give credit where credit is due and show support for game studios that still do things this way and still tend to value the player's time and money. Now, that being said, if they suddenly try to do some scummy bullshit, I'm looking at you Tekken, and try to add a fucking in-game store and add all this FOMO Battle Pass bullshit, then they're not gonna ever hear the end of it from me. All that goodwill will go absolutely down the drain. But for now, I haven't seen any signs of that, and I will give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm just gonna assume that they will release a full packaged video game when this game comes out. Now, here's the big elephant in the room. The thing that I think most people are concerned about, the thing we've heard the least amount of info about from Gearbox or other content creators, and I think we all know what I'm talking about. It's the story. It's always been the story. Borderlands 3 has hurt this franchise in such a deep, impactful way and it has burned the players so badly that it has been memed to high hell. What they have done in that game and in the games that followed after it has been an absolute atrocity. And I know, people are probably saying that this has been talked about to death, and you know what? Fair. But you also know what? I think it's not something that you should just sweep under the rug and forget about. Otherwise, it's just gonna happen again. And no, I don't think you should only just make content and make videos and talk about shit that is negative all the time. Which is why I also think it's really important to talk about the things you like and the things you want to support and that you want to foster and that you want to see more of and that you want to give credit where credit is due, because I think that's equally as important. And I think I've been incredibly fair for the first half of this video, and I think I've done that quite a bit, which is why I don't feel bad about talking about the things I dislike, because I think it is necessary and something that you shouldn't be afraid to say. The AAA modern gaming landscape has made people feel so burned, so hurt, and so betrayed that the trust is just absolutely gone now. We've had so many similar situations in the past with lackluster, terrible writing, one-dimensional characters that their inclusion feels like it's only there to cross off a checklist. You've got weird, unlikable self-inserts, and just an overall toxic attitude towards players, towards gamers, towards their player base, that it has completely destroyed the trust that a lot of people have in the AAA gaming industry and in modern gaming in general. And that's not even the worst part about it. The absolute worst part is that time and time again, when faced with even the slightest bit of criticism, no matter how valid or how sincere, a lot of these studios, a lot of these gaming companies, a lot of these developers have such an immense emotional, illogical, and overall hostile or toxic response to the players, and they almost always end up doubling or even tripling down on these bad and terrible ideas that it just defies all logic and just further drives people away. And I think that's where a lot of the concern for the story of Borderlands 4 comes from, because to be honest, Borderlands 3 sold very well. So the developers, the writers, they might think, well, maybe we don't even have to prioritize having a good story. Didn't help make any difference the last time. Maybe they'll be so stubborn and spiteful that they'll just double down on everything people didn't like about Borderlands 3. Maybe a few missions into the story, Ava is suddenly the main character again and is just as annoying as she was before, and you see her for the whole rest of the game. Who knows? I can't really confirm that any of this would happen or is even possible. I really hope the story is great. I hope everyone enjoys it. I hope everyone gets the experience they want from it. But to be honest, if they did end up tripling or doubling down on every single thing that people disliked about 3, honestly, I couldn't really say I'd be surprised. Now, to be honest and fair, they've already been very open about the overall vibe shift of the franchise. And you can really tell they're trying to take it to a more balanced Borderlands 2 kind of vibe, where it's just the right amount of color and grit to keep everything like a really good, nice, even balance. And while they haven't mentioned the actual writing or the story, they've mentioned writing in terms of humor. Now, they've stated that, oh, there's going to be less poop jokes or less childish jokes, but to be honest, I don't even fucking remember a specific poop joke in Borderlands 3, I probably just ignored it. But what I couldn't ignore is everything else. And that's the stuff I'm really concerned about. At the end of the day, I'm gonna stay cautiously optimistic. I really hope this game is gonna be good. I really want this game to be great. And I really do think that there's a possibility that it can be. But for now, we don't know. But when it does come out, you better fucking believe I'm gonna make a video on it, and I'm gonna keep you guys up to date. So if you wanna be there when I do, if you agree with me on any of these things, or you share any of my concerns, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys there when the game drops. Until then, have a good one.